How about now?
Good.
Sorry about that. Just had to step out for that
No
phone
worries.
call real quick.
No problem. I understand you're a busy guy.
So, let's see here. I think we were talking about, some of the circumstances around, Robin. Now, you said that, she was pretty loyal to you. She was more loyal to you than she would have been with Mr. Gambino. Did you introduce her into the family, or was she recruited by Mr. Gambino?
First time I met Robin Miles, it's up on a hill overlooking Paleto. Luca texted me, told me and Darren to head up that way. Wasn't expecting a 20-year-old girl to be waiting there when we got there.
Remember, we control your parole.
I didn't recruit her in, no. Gambino did that himself.
Did you feel like he used her or invited her in to maybe control you? So he had something over you.
Wouldn't have really done him any good. I didn't know Robin Miles from any other person walking down the street.
Come on, exercise.
I see. So it wasn't about how long after he set the meeting up with Robin Miles did you about how long did he before he brought her in? Oh, here comes the rain. It's raining through the ceiling. Ah. Ah. I have to be real careful about this line of questioning.
Miles was brought into the family, actually made a part of the family after the murder of Sid Shepard. He was made an associate of the family the day I met her.
I see.
Jumped at every task that Luca gave her.
Well, respect and loyalty, right, Mr. Jasper?
Honestly, Dorfman, the 20-year-old girl selling weed in Paleto. No friends, nobody to count on. He was looking for someone to take her in. We took advantage of that.
Fair enough. Was she running any of the Gambino operations?
Miles was a soldier. Didn't give orders, she took them.
Fair enough. Prior to you turning yourself in, what would you say that Bruce Greenwell was? Was he a soldier, or was he more than that?
Greenwell was a special case. Like I said, Luca had this trust in Greenwell. He knew more than any of the other associates at the time. Then when we brought him into the family, well, all the cards were laid on the table, including his own. I don't know what you know about Mr. Greenwell's history. But if you think weed and cocaine are the only drugs out there on the streets, well, you guys got another thing coming.
Well, there used to be methamphetamine. Pretty vile substance.
Yeah, it used to be. Sure.
Telling me that's still running around? Meth?
Maybe not in the quantities it used to be available in. But one of the last meetings that I had face-to-face with Bruce Greenwell told me about a van full of meth that a friend of his left him. Talked about how he was going to open up his own lab with this recipe he had and build an empire.
So he had quite a bit to offer, Mr. Gambino.
Sure. You want to call meth quite a bit to offer. Bit too thug for my taste, though, Mr. Dorfman.
Oh yeah, you told us earlier, last time we spoke, that the drug game wasn't really your thing.
Not really, no. I knew about it. Knew enough about it. But, separation of church and state. I'm sure you understand.
But it was a business you guys were heavily involved in. Meaning the Gambino family. Particularly Darren.
Was. And Darren was the one in control of all that. Yeah.
And you focused on the gun trade.
That was my main area of focus, yes.
Please save all intimate assault for the shower block.
Who was there when Jack Rockwell was killed?
No idea. Like I said, I was told about that after the fact.
We're paid $850 a day to house feed.
Fair enough. What was the
Blacks on the left, whites on the right, browns down the middle for your own safety.
You had mentioned that before that there were some dealings with Alexis Freeman, the owner of the Blazing Tattoo Parlor there in Vinewood. Were those dealings
Yeah,
with?
there were some.
Were they mainly with her or with Harry Brown?
Can't really say for sure. Darren handled those meetings. I was just on scene in the car for a couple of them, that's all.
What was Darren expecting to get? What was he trying? What was he trying to get from Alexis? Do you know? He already told us. I'm asking the question again.
As far as I knew, he was getting cocaine from Alexis and Harry Brown. Like I said, that's the only knowledge I have of that. I don't have any proof.
Blacks on the left, whites on the right, browns down the middle for your own safety.
You had mentioned another murder that had taken place. You said this was the time that Miss Miles was brought into the family full on. What was that? What was that lady's name again, or the person's name?
Talking about the murder of Sid Shepard?
Sid Shepard.
It's already been covered.
Yeah. So what? Refresh my. Why did? Was that also a hit that was ordered by Luca Gambino?
Luca ran the guy down, knocked him off his motorcycle, and forced him into the trunk,
Jesus.
then left us to finish the job. So yeah, it was a hit ordered by Luca Gambino.
Was that over a lack of respect?
Can you stop hurting?
Sid Shepard?
Money spent on
Sid Shepard was murdered for trying to recruit Miles.
I see. Who was Sid Shepard working for at the time? What organization?
No idea.
But he was trying to recruit her away from the family.
Yeah. Need to ask you a favor, Mr. Dorfman.
What's that?
Might seem, I don't know, a little bit out there,
Please save all intimate assaults for
but
the block.
Robin didn't deserve to die. Doesn't deserve for her body to rot in a morgue somewhere. Doesn't have to be anything big. Doesn't have to be anything special. If you can, could you try to make sure she gets buried properly? She deserves at least that.
Yeah, I will. Do you know, did she have any family? Brothers, sisters, parents?
Just me.
I'll make a few inquiries down at the coroner's office and see if We'll see if anyone has claimed her body. After a certain period of time, I think the state just assumes ownership and does the burial. But I'll check for you, Mr. Jasper.
Remember, we control your parole, so behave.
I appreciate it.
Sure thing. Was Miss Miles close to was she close to Matthew at all? Matthew Miller?
Don't know that I'd say Miles is close to really anybody in the family.
Any particular reason why?
Miles had troubled past.
3846, stop walking like that.
Nah.
Or I'll rotisserie.
She didn't let people in very easily.
I see.
Are we gonna have to put you in solitary? Thank you.
So she wouldn't necessarily like keep something for for someone. She wouldn't necessarily stick her I guess neck out unless if it was unless if it was something for the family that where she felt her loyalty to to do the job. She got an order, so she did it. Anything other than that, though, would she do favors for anyone else, or?
Favors?
Like keep
Like
things
what
in
kind
her
of favors, Mr. Dorfman?
like keep things in the trunks of her cars, or anything like that. Somebody needed to hide something, maybe they gave it to her.
And Miles hid things sometimes.
No touching.
Guns used to shoot Barkov were given to Miles for safekeeping.
You recall what type of gun that was used to kill or to shoot Dmitry Barkov?
No shitting in the yard.
As far as I know, just a 9mm pistol. Nothing special.
No special hardware.
No, no special hardware.
No tocar, por favor.
Walk me through again, if you wouldn't mind, the murder of the attempt on Jordan Klein. In my notes here, you had said before that you believe he had talked to the cops.
He did talk to the cops during an incident between himself and I forget the guy's name, and I think maybe some of the Grove boys.
So that would have upset things quite a bit, including the relationship between Mr. Gambino and the guys on Grove.
No, at the gentleman that Jordan was rolling around with wasn't one of the family. Jordan wasn't the target. Stuck his nose somewhere he shouldn't have. He paid the price for it.
And before, just to make sure my notes are clear on this, Mr. Jasper, I apologize for asking this question again. I know you gave us a statement before, but I want to make sure I captured this accurately. You say that with as it relates to Mr. Klein, you, Luca, and Eric Falk were present. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then Luca cut his kneecaps and then put 2 rounds in the back of his head.
No. Eric had a Mach 2 SMG, I believe. After Luca talked to Jordan, he told Eric to take out his kneecaps and put 2 in the head. And that's what he did. Then we left the body to rot. Warehouse south of Jamestown.
All right. You recall what the outside of that warehouse building looks like?
Not particularly. It was night.
Okay. Was it a particular area around the warehouse that this took place?
Was inside the warehouse, Mr. Dorfman. In the door, down the stairs, right under the light. Corner area.
And you say it was left there to rot?
Where his body was left. The body was left to rot.
All right.
As far as I know, nobody ever went to clean it up.
When you, let's talk a little bit about the gun trade. Thank you very much for this 10 bits, Zero Taylor. How would you get notified where the drop was going to come?
Luca received a message. Don't know how. He told us where the drop was. We went there. We picked up the guns. We stowed them in the back of the barber shop.
Did you have any other storage locations that you'd move things?
No, but we were looking into picking up a warehouse down south. We had a couple of ideas in mind.
Where were the, are you talking about down south of Grove Street? Or towards the airport?
Can you stop hurting each other? Money spent on
Down at the docks, around Voodoo Place, areas like that.
Voodoo Place.
Places people wouldn't think twice about a work van entering and leaving.
Makes sense. What about the, when you went to, did you do the pickups yourself? Luca would tell you, you go get whatever you needed vehicle-wise, and
It was either myself and Luca, Luca and Darren. We always did the pickups. Luca was always there.
okay. And for the most of the times, was it just a location and nobody there, or did you oftentimes have to deal with the people that he was getting the guns from?
Sometimes there would be people there. Luca and the older guy would chat. Other times it was just a van, nondescript, loaded with guns. We took them and left.
Where were some of the drop-off locations that you went and did pickups from?
Different places. Like I said before, I don't really remember them.
What was the typical shipment like? How many weapons are we talking about?
Changed. Sometimes we'd get AP pistols. Sometimes we'd get automatic rifles. Other times micro Uzis. I'd say upwards of anywhere from 5 to 10 guns, usually most of the time. Well,
That's-
5 to 10 weapons.
Street value, we're talking probably what, around $50,000-$60,000, depending on the weapon.
Sell most of those guns for 10,000 apiece. Some of them for over 20.
So street value could be anywhere between 100 and 200,000, depending on the shipment.
It's all about how much someone's willing to pay, Mr. Dorfman.
money spent on medical comes off our bottom line.
Yeah, and the more rare the item, the more prized it is, the more people are willing to pay.
Something like that, yeah.
I love that emote. That emote is so cute. It's one of my favorites. So is the other one that goes the other way.
Come on, leave his shoes on his feet.
Did were the shipments fairly regular, or were they extremely irregular?
Every few weeks.
Was there a particular time of day that you find yourself
No.
usually getting? No.
Come on!
And how
We
long
worked
would
around
your
the client. We worked around the seller's schedule.
makes sense, especially given that there was competition in the market. The seller would let you know, I expect, and either you acted or you didn't. They weren't worried about it because they knew they had other buyers.
Something like that, yeah.
Stretch your legs, prisoners. We're
Now do you remember back when the city went through a really, really violent phase there for a while? Not long after the gun trade really kicked off here in the city. You were around the city around that time? You know about what I'm talking about? Maybe 4 months ago.
I was around, sure.
You remember an incident with, hearing about an incident with the head of SecuriServe and outside of Mission Row, shooting the place up, putting down a couple of cops?
Can't say that I did. Unknowing Freddie Price, not really a surprise.
Do you know, was the Gambino family involved in the drug game at that, or the gun game at that time?
Not really. We'd purchased a few guns, but we weren't really selling as much back then, no.
At what point did you know, about when did the Gambinos start dealing in firearms? About how long ago?
Don't remember exactly, Mr. Dorfman.
Was did you make those initial connections, or were those made by Mr. Gambino?
They were made by Mr. Gambino.
You can hold your special friend's hand, but that's it.
Did you ever witness money exchange to those parties?
Once, I carried a briefcase containing $10,000 and handed it off to the old man myself.
And what was that $10,000 for?
Time.
So it was sort of a measure of respect.
Come on! Leave his shoes on his feet.
Yeah, you could say that.
The couple of meetings that you told us about, that you described meeting with these individuals down at the docks.
We need a cavity search on number 2582.
You know about where on the docks that you would meet at?
Just different places. No set place.
Did they have eyes watching the entrance into the docks that you observed?
No. Wait, are you asking... Are you asking about the sellers? We never met the sellers at the docks. I know that much.
Yeah, the sellers.
No, we never met them at the docks.
And where did you meet the sellers at then?
Like I said, different spots. I don't really remember them all. I just know we never met them at the docks.
All right.
346, stop walking like that, or I'll call you up for keystering.
All right, give me just a moment, Mr. Jasper. I want to make a phone call real quick. I'll be right back. Give me like 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna Grab myself some water here and think for a moment while you're gone.
Yeah. Sure thing.
Are we gonna have to put you in solitary? Thank you.
With Mr. Jasper here in a few minutes.
Please save all intimate assaults for the shower block.
Okay, we've learned a lot so far. We've actually learned quite a bit.
Stop walking like that, or I'll call you up for keistery.
They're in full.
Come on! Exercise!
Thank you very much, Mr. Jasper. Sorry about that.
Exercise! An exhausted prisoner is a compliant prisoner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jasper. Next question I had is along the lines of relationship between Mr. Gambino and Mav Toretto. Wonder if you could. But first of all, were you aware that if they had any business dealings?
Who?
Mr. Gambino, Luca Gambino, and Mav Toretto.
Inmates on drug charges.
We sold some things to him a couple of times. They met a few times. I don't know that I'd say they were really the best business partners, given the way that Mr. Toretto handles things. But you know, dealt with some, sure.
What types of things did you guys sell to him?
He bought a switchblade. A few times he's interested in buying other things. I don't know if they were ever sold to him or not.
Well, if it came out of the inventory for weapons, is that something that you would keep track of, so you know that you knew where the weapon sales were going to?
I wanted to keep track of where things were going, but Luca didn't like the idea.
Stop walking like that, or I'll call you up for keistery.
Was there ever any concern that that items would go missing, or
No.
anything like that? No.
The inventory was only accessible by a very small number. At the time, when I turned myself in, Darren and Luca were the only ones that could access the locker. We were the only one with keys.
Now, you said the locker was, at least at the time, was located in the barber shop. Could you describe the
Yes.
location?
And when you the back room, there's a small room, little bathroom, a cot to sleep on, and then the lockers right there.
All right. Was there, you ever store anything else besides weapons in those lockers?
I believe Darren stored some cocaine once or twice.
A few bricks?
Yeah.
All right. But as far as Mr. Doretto goes, they had no real special relationship then between he and Mr. Gambino. Nothing more than perhaps some of the other folks around the city.
No, nothing special.
How about the relationship with Street Dreams when it was owned by Maxine Devereaux?
Maxine was what I would consider a close friend of mine. We had our disagreements, sure, but whenever we dealt business, it was always handled professionally, courteously.
So then you were on a pretty good terms then with the tribe.
Gambino family and the tribe were allies.
Before you turned yourself in, there's a lot of instability in the city. Did the tribe ever come to you guys for help?
Yeah, we helped out.
What kind of help was the tribe looking for?
Please keep your phones in your asses till you're back in your cells.
Different kinds, mostly needed soldiers.
Who were they afraid of?
When you're in the business of information, Mr. Dorfman, you make a lot of enemies.
That you do.
In recent months, Chief and his people came out of the shadows a bit too much.
You can hold your special
Made quite a few enemies.
but that's it.
Did you guys ever, did the Gambino family, or rather, should I say, did Luca ever order you to take an action in support of the tribe?
Blacks on the left, whites on the right, browns down the middle. For your
Yeah.
own safety.
It did.
Can you describe what he asked you to do?
We were supposed to help the tribe deal with Bob Coolidge at one point, causing issues. Shooting up Mirror Park,
No shitting in the yard.
being an overall nuisance.
Only for the bucket in your cell.
We, Darren and I were on standby, but we sent in Eric Falk to help take Bob Coolidge out. Happened during a yacht party for Rising Sun's president, Mr. Oshima.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? I'm familiar with the yacht party. Was an event Mr. Oshima put on for close associates of Rising Sun, as I recall.
I'm not sure what the party was for. I didn't go. I didn't attend myself. Kind of thing that management doesn't get involved in. You understand what I mean?
Sure, it's too risky.
Yeah, exactly. Boat out in the middle of nowhere. Too easy to get caught. Darren and I watched from the shore.
What was Eric's plan?
Their plan was to take out Bob Coolidge. Unfortunately, he survived.
Is there any, where were you? Well, you said you pulled up and you were observing. Where were you, did you have a good eyes on the beach? Where they were ferrying people back and forth?
We were right down from that. There's a little peninsula-like type piece of the beach that juts out south of that old hotel. So they used to offer the all-day garage service.
All right. Did you witness anything happen out on the beach?
No.
That's a lie.
We didn't witness anything. We were just on the beach in case things went sideways. We could get people out if they needed to swim to shore.
All right. And was Eric acting alone in that, or was he operating with members of the tribe? You said
He's operating with members of the tribe, chief included.
Which were all the members of the tribe involved in that particular action, or was it?
No idea.
All right. Which members of the tribe did you observe?
I know that at least chief was there. That's it.
All right.
Plausible deniability.
So at least chief was there.
And from what I understand, chief's the one that pulled the trigger, or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but I know it sparked a war.
Remember, we control your parole. So
Really sent things into a spiral, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, pardon me for just a second.
blacks on the left, whites on the right, browns down the middle for your own safety.
Yeah, we're in the interrogation room. We need to make sure we clear out before 9 p.m. Yeah, per the warden's instructions. Right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Was
Is this gonna take much longer? I'd
nah,
rather not
we're
be in here too long.
that's actually the phone call that I made outside. I was just letting the troopers know I was getting close to the end of my questions, and I knew I'd kept you out for some time, and I don't want to keep you too much longer. I'm just waiting on them to come back, and yeah, it should be that.
Yeah, no worries. I'm sure you understand the kind of position this puts me in, being escorted into this room.
I
A
understand.
lot of people that probably want me dead right now, Mr. Dorfman.
That's why I wanted to put some time between the last time we spoke, Mr. Jasper, and this time. And for your safety. I can't help the environment. It is what it is. But I appreciate your
I
cooperation.
made my bed.
As it relates to this, to this incident and the war that kind of ensued afterwards, I take it that brought you and the Gambinos and Vespucci Kings kind of. But it sounded like you guys already had some tensions. Bob Coolidge's gang.
I mean, Bob Coolidge is a wild card. Crazy, he's a fucking lunatic. He, It was a possible problem. Per our agreement with the tribe, we agreed to help take him out. The war started, though. Worked alongside a few other people to bring things to an end before they get too bloody.
Were any other of Bob's people targeted?
I believe, guy named Rocco and another guy shot in the back by Luca and Eric Falk for threatening Eric's life after everything set off.
How you doing, business? How's it going?
That may or may not have been before the Bob Coolidge attempt, though. Things are a little bit hazy there. This is a while back.
Yeah, I understand. Things in this city move pretty fast, too, generally speaking.
And staring at the same four walls, things kind of start to blend together.
Yeah. You know, if, what's the guy's name? Huxley. You know, if his name was, talked about?
Everybody wanted Toby's head. Everybody wanted his fucking head.
Why was that?
And then, like magic, nobody wanted his head. Guy vanished. Puff of smoke in the air. And before I turned myself in, one of our guys thought he saw him in the city. Wasn't sure though. Toby was the reason everything popped off the way it did. Targeted Eric and some of the tribe's boys. Chung, a guy named Chung, was involved as well. They tried to take Eric out. Was back when Eric was still an associate. But from what I understood about the situation, both Eric and Toby had a similar interest. A girl named Allie. I believe Coolidge and his boys took care of her, though.
So that was, we can't get at Toby, so we're gonna take out somebody that means something to him.
She was a loose end, needed to be cleaned up, nothing more.
All right. Yeah, is there any update? Just want to make sure that. All right. Yeah. Oh, you're en route. All right. Thanks. Yeah, you know how the warden is. He likes that time schedule of his, Mr. Jasper, and he's got this kind of rule about the yard and how he wants it after certain hours. I'm sure you understand that. You ever have any business dealings with Rising Sun? Beyond insurance.
No. Was Rising Sun's connection to the gun trade was brought to our attention by Eric Falk, who advised us that Orihara sold guns. That's all I know about that. As far as I know, that could be gibberish.
Yeah, all right. So, things that Eric wasn't really a... It sounds like you doubt things that he would bring you, pieces of information.
I don't know. Eric had a lot of connections, a lot of friends. Still does, I imagine. And most of the information he brought us checked out. I don't think anything he ever brought us didn't check out. So, I don't have any proof, but I'd say that if Eric brought it to us, probably at least some truth to it.
So it's more of a concern of perhaps what purpose he might be to bringing it to you. That he might be serving ulterior motives.
I don't know. Eric wore the cut of a dead motorcycle club for 3 or 4 months after their president went missing. Pretty loyal guy, Mr. Dorfman. Pretty fucking loyal guy.
What motorcycle club would that be? The Lost? Hey, how you doing there, troopers?
Yeah, the Lost MC.
All right. All right. Well, I appreciate you answering my my questions today, Mr. Jasper. Trooper, I think we're done for the day. I'll
Hey, other.
Yeah, you got to speak up here. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I appreciate you coming. I think we're Mr. Jasper and I are done here for today. Mr. Jasper, thank you again for answering my questions, and apologize if I tested your patience a little bit with asking some questions over again that some ground that we already covered previous interview. But
Sorry, Mr. Dorfman. I'm
I
not
appreciate
going
it.
anywhere anytime soon.
All right. All right. Well, I'll if you follow this trooper's instructions, he'll get you situated and squared away. Gentlemen, I guess I'll wait for you just outside here.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers can